to 40% in the second round. To talk more about all of this, I'm joined by French politics expert Pierre PURSEIGLE. Thank you for being with us tonight. Now, first of all, do all of these mainstream endorsements actually help Emmanuel Macron, given how strongly the voters have rejected the two main parties?
Hi, thank you for having me. I think those endorsements do matter insofar as it will encourage those mainstream voters who've not given their support to Macron yet to support him in the second round. But of course, they run the risk of also reinforcing the idea that he is the candidate of the establishment, therefore playing in the hands of the far-right candidate, Marine Le Pen.
And we just saw a breakdown of the final official results. And when it comes down to it, more voters chose the pro-business, pro-EU Macron than they did the anti-EU, anti-globalisation Le Pen. Are we seeing here a sign that Europe has turned the page on Brexit? This is not something that's contagious. This is not something that's coming to France.
Well, I think it certainly is a good sign for those French and European citizens who were clearly concerned by the Brexit vote here in the UK. Now, having said this, it's also worth remembering that a significant portion of the French electorate, probably about between 40 and 50%, actually supported a candidate whose attitude towards the European Union is very negative indeed, including Marine Le Pen, but also including Jean-Luc Mélenchon, who's been running on a very aggressive national populist campaign that was mainly aimed at the European Union. So there is a risk that this anti-EU sentiment could potentially crystallize and push Marine Le Pen closer to the Elysee Palace.
Quite. And Jean-Luc Mélenchon, of course, who got almost 20% of the vote, a very good score for him. He is the only main candidate not to tell his supporters to vote against Marine Le Pen. Do you think some of his supporters could vote for her?
Well, I think his refusal to call upon his supporters to vote for Emmanuel Macron and to reject Le Pen is a very significant fact, and in fact in contradiction with the attitude he had adopted in previous elections. What I think this shows is how much of the rightward turn Mélenchon has taken in the last few years, moving away from his reputation as a candidate of the far left to endorse increasingly strident nationalism that is unlikely to encourage and invite his supporters to support Macron. Having said this, I think it is fair to say that the immense majority of the people who voted for him probably identify as members of the left and are nonetheless likely to support Emmanuel Macron in the second round.
And even if Emmanuel Macron does win the second round, which of course he hasn't yet, how is he going to govern the country? His party, which was only formed a year ago, doesn't have a single member of parliament. How is all of this going to play out in the legislative elections, which will happen in June?
Well, this is a question that will need to be addressed in the immediate aftermath of the second round. Assuming that he wins and he certainly couldn't take his and shouldn't take his victory for granted, then we'll start another ball game, an entirely different race altogether. And these races, these parliamentary races, of course, will largely be local in nature. And these are the places in local constituencies where Macron will have none of the advantages and resources of that incumbency brings to a political organization. He would potentially need activists on the ground that he may not have, and of course he will be facing both right-wing and socialist politicians who will be hanging on for dear lives on their parliamentary seats. So this is where he will need to truly finish the job, and after having presided over the collapse of the established political system, find a way to reorganize it around himself and around his platform and his party.
Pierre PURSEIGLE, thank you very much indeed for talking to us. Well, the centre